From the Whiskey Tangent Studios in Marlton, New Jersey, this is Whiskey Tangent News.
Hey everybody, this is Ed from the Whiskey Tangent Podcast here with another edition of Whiskey News.
Woo!
And joining me as always is Scott.
Hey everybody.
Back at the news desk in New York City. No, I'm just kidding. We're still in Marlton. But lots of stuff to go over. Lots of new whiskeys coming out. And then, of course, we're going to tell you what we're doing in June. And that's the fast summary. And here's the slow one.
Trying something new this month.
I'm all wound up in coffee. We have 9 news stories today for you. 4 stories involving industry news, 2 science and technology stories, and always fun, but sometimes tragic, 3 true crime. And then we'll go over just 10 random whiskeys that are coming out this month that you can buy. And once again, what we're doing in June.
That's right. But it is
May
2024, and here's all the news that's fit to drink. In industry news, the top story from the Whiskey Wash, Beam Suntory is rebranding again. Just 10 years after Japan's Suntory Holdings acquired Kentucky's Beam Incorporated and changed their name to Beam Suntory, they're doing it once again as the international liquor conglomerate begins a new era as Suntory Global Spirits.
What? Beam's out?
Yeah.
Beam's out.
Beam is out of the name.
Oh my God. That was smooth. What a bunch of bullshit that is.
I know, right?
100 years of history, basically. Just shot to hell.
Yeah, and here, this is how they're...
Wait, I'm not done ranting.
Okay.
I can't believe Beam didn't see this coming. Like, when they first made the deal, like, well, at least we got our name in it, right?
Yeah.
And then how...
In fact, it was first.
Yeah, it was Beam Suntory.
Right.
Now it's like Suntory Global.
Yeah.
And Beam might as well be Alizé at this point, just one of the holdings. Wow, I have to tell you, I don't know why I'm a little pissed off by it. I'm a little pissed off by it.
Yeah, so we'll get to how exactly they are justifying this.
Okay.
So in addition to the Japanese brands Yamazaki, Hibiki, and Hakushu, and American brands Jim Beam, Knob Creek, and Maker's Mark, among many others, Suntory Global Spirits also owns premium Scotch brands including Bowmore and Lefroy, as well as premium gin, ready-to-drink, and non-alcoholic beverages, all of which comprise a massive portfolio aimed at a diverse worldwide audience. And given the recent global market shift in the market for Japanese brands, as well as the importance of premium whiskeys internationally, a rebranding that favors these 2 markets is not wholly unsurprising. However, there are currently no plans to move their global headquarters, which will continue to be located in New York City.
I will say that Suntory has also a very long history.
They do. They just had their 100th year
Right. So that, just to give them their credit and their due, and in case they ever want to send us whiskey, they have been around for 100 years.
Yes.
I guess my only concern is the part you just said about there being a demand for premium whiskey globally. A foreign-based company might not have the loyalty to keep a large amount of those premium spirits here. You know what I mean? Like, they might take some of our supply and then try to put it into France or try to put it into their part of the world, right? Korea or India or Laos or the Philippines, where the Whiskey Tangent Podcast is doing so well.
They love us there in Southeast Asia.
They love us in Southeast Asia. We must get at least 25 downloads a month. So, and this is not an attack on Suntory. They have their own business plan, but their business plan in their own name is global. And, I think there's reason to be concerned that loyalty might not be respected.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, they got rid of Beam in the name. That's very symbolic.
It's a kick in the nutsack.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's a demotion.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Have we heard from Fred No at all? Have we heard anything?
No. All right, so the second story that we have is from WLKY in Louisville, Kentucky. Power outage causes Heaven Hill whiskey spill. Did you hear about this?
No.
Yeah.
And I'm confused why it would happen.
Right. Early last week, a power outage at Heaven Hill's Bernheim distillery caused the spillage of a few hundred gallons of whiskey. Although it has not been reported exactly how that happened, fire alarms did go off at one point, prompting local firefighters to respond. However, power was quickly restored and the incident lasted just over an hour. Investigators later deduced that the outage was caused by work being done on site by an independent contractor. He's fired. Although the spill will be monitored by the Louisville Metropolitan Sewer District, Heaven Hill Director of Kentucky Distillation Connor O'Driscoll says there was no cause of concern to surrounding neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, a couple 100 gallons doesn't seem like a lot.
No.
It's a lot in your kitchen, everybody. You know, I mean, if you spill 100 gallons of whiskey in your house, it's going to be a big problem for you.
That's a problem.
But I'm trying to figure out whether maybe it was something like in the bottling section, it's something runs electronically that once it's open, it doesn't stop the flow.
Yeah,
they might have it like timed or like
it has to be something like that, or they're transferring from different tanks or something backed up. And,
it's got to be something like that.
Right. The third story that we have in industry news from the bourbon lens, and this is exciting, I think, for me.
Okay.
Hopefully it will be for you too.
All right.
Four Roses adds 2 new mash bills.
Oh, wait. It's so funny. They already have so many.
No, but so if you're as much as a Four Roses fan as we are, and if you listen to our podcast for any length of time, you probably know that all Four Roses whiskeys are made from 2 mash bills and 5 different yeast strains.
Right. The many yeast strains.
Yeah, yielding 10 different formulations that are sold separately and also blended together. But just last week, in an unexpected move, the Lawrenceburg, Kentucky distillery revealed that it would be adding 2 new mash bills to the mix. The original mash bills go by the letters B and E, with B being 60% corn, 35% rye, and 5% malted barley, and E being 75% corn, 20% rye, and the same 5% malted barley. The 2 new mash bills are going to be 85% corn, 10% rye, 5% malted barley, which is higher corn than the E, and 52% corn, 43% rye, and 5% malted barley, which is higher rye than the B. There's no word yet on what letters that these new mash bills will receive.
Those 2 should be E and S, because the 85 is more my mash bill and the 50 your mash bill.
Yeah. Four Roses has confirmed that the new mash bills will be used in future products and are not intended to replace their current core expressions.
This is what we want to hear. See, because why mess with what's beautiful?
Exactly.
They have 2 expressions I absolutely love: the single barrel and the small batch select. And it's another answer to what can I drink when I don't want to drink something that's $150. Like if you can't afford a Blood Oath or a Little Book.
Yeah, and you can also get all 10 of their different expressions. You probably at local liquor stores or something do barrel picks.
Yeah,
because they can pick one of those 10 and just bottle that.
Yes.
So the last story in industry news.
Yep.
The 2024 San Francisco World Spirits Competition winners have been announced.
Wow.
Yeah, this year's event took place last month between April 4th and 7th, and they've just revealed all of their bronze, silver, gold, and double gold winners. Of course, there are way too many winners to go through the whole list, so we'll just highlight some of the double gold winning brands that we've had on the podcast. And there's plenty.
To make us look good.
Yeah, that's right. That's what this news is all about.
That's right.
The 1792 Bartons had 5 double gold winners.
Wow.
Their Bottle and Bond, full proof, single barrel, their small batch, and their sweet wheat.
I don't think I've had the sweet wheat.
No.
And I don't think I've had the Bottle and Bond.
Yeah.
We were even at a Barton's tasting. They didn't have it.
It's hard to get, I guess. Even for them.
Did they have the sweet wheat at the tasting? They didn't, did they?
No.
Man, interesting.
Yeah. We did, of course, episode 46, Poorly Bat. Benchmark, they got 3 double golds, full proof, single barrel, and the small batch.
No way.
Yep.
They're not double golds.
Well.
They're just not, they're watering down what double gold means. For their price and proof point, they are very nice whiskeys.
Yeah.
I have the top shelf in my house right now.
Right, that was in the Madness tournament.
And if I come in the house from work and I drink just that, it's okay. If I drink anything else that I have, it tastes a little bit inferior.
Yeah, I think we said that on the Madness, that by itself, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So I don't know how they determined that all 3 of them were double gold.
Well, remember, they're tasting them blind. They have no idea it's benchmark. Or maybe they clear their palates better than we did.
Maybe they do it like our Madness tournament. They keep all the proof in the same room. Like maybe they're all sub 90 or something.
Yeah.
I hear them. I'm just saying, I think you got to be careful that you don't water yourself down.
No, I totally agree. The San Francisco World Spirits Competition is widely known to give a lot of awards.
Yeah.
The Blue Note won 3 double golds. The Crossroads, their Juke Joint, and their new expression, the Trifecta, which we've never had.
Right, and just enjoyed a bottle of the Crossroads last weekend.
I'm drinking the rye right now.
And yeah, my bottle of Crossroads in Orlando, Florida, where I was visiting for the weekend, was $36. All right, 100 proof, delicious whiskey, and by the way, double gold winner.
Cheap.
And it was delicious.
Yeah, we did that on episode 68.
Yes.
Go back and listen to that if you haven't. Elijah Craig won 3. Their foolproof A124, their foolproof C923, and their 18-year. Have you had their 18-year?
Yeah, I've had the 18-year. It's very good. And if you can get it, $150, it's all right. But you see it at ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
And yeah, Elijah Craig has been getting a lot of hype for their foolproof and their barrel strength and things like that. So...
yeah. So all 3 of Heaven Hill's Bottle and Bond bourbons won. The Evan Williams, the Heaven Hill, and the Henry McKenna.
I have a bottle of each at home.
Yeah. We featured them on episode 9 and 13 and in 2 shorts.
Right. And one time in the Whiskey Madness, the Evan Williams 4-year Bottle and Bond upset the Heaven Hill 7-year.
That's right.
In a blind taste.
Yeah. Next one we have is doing these in alphabetical order. Episode 73, our last episode before this. Bottle and Bond Bourbon one. We did not have that.
No, I've never had that.
Yeah. No, we had 4 expressions on that episode, and this was not it.
My goal is to be buried in a casket stuffed full of Bottle and Bond bottles all around me. Like, that's what I want to go. Like, every Bottle and Bond that's available, I just want stuffed on top of me in the casket.
Okay.
And it's going to be easy because I'm going to be cremated. So it's only going to be like a little box with me in it and then just bottles everywhere.
Well, the spoiler alert, there's a couple in the new whiskeys list that we have later.
That's right. In fact, what you do is this.
So pace yourself.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, here we go. All right, getting all excited.
Yeah. The next one, 4 Roses, the single barrel, 1 double gold. Featured that in episode 36, and it was in Madness, just this past Madness.
Yeah.
Larceny 1-2 for their small batch and their foolproof A124. We featured that in episode 12, Madness 2023, and a couple shorts. Maker's Mark 3 for their 46 cask strength and cellar aged.
Is that the one we looked at last night? The one I said on the wall?
Yeah.
Remember? It was something. We were in the local lounge, and I just remarked across the room. I said, "Look how beautiful that particular Maker's Mark bottle, not the bottle, but the liquor inside looked." Remember, it's on a wall of liquor, so it's standing out as this really almost looked like a Manhattan,
very dark,
a dark, almost red tint to it.
It was like the darkest thing on the shelf there.
Yeah.
The New Riff won a double gold for their 6-year malted rye.
I mean, we haven't even had that.
No.
But everything
awesome.
we've had from New Riff has been very, very drinkable for around $45, $48.
Yeah, go back to listen to episode 66. We liked all of those.
Yep.
Don't get mad. Old Elk.
Well, Old Elk is good, right?
Yeah,
but it's a name I don't like.
Right, that's I know.
Right, Old Elk reminds me of Old Crow.
Yeah. They won 4. So
all for the same bottle.
Straight wheat whiskey, their double wheat whiskey, their cognac finished wheat whiskey, and their 8-year wheated bourbon.
I would try all of them.
Oh, yeah.
They sound amazing.
Yeah, that episode was 64 that we tried that Old Elk expression, the current and future bourbon.
Right.
So from last month's news, if you remember the guys who created the whiskey survival kit, Rod and Hammers,
Yes.
they won double gold for their cask rye whiskey. I happen to see the name. I'm like, oh, well, I have to report on them now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they just don't make gimmicky kits. They actually make good whiskey.
Well, interesting.
Yeah.
Very good.
And they're from California. Savage and Cook. We tasted their bourbon on episode 44, and their bourbon won double gold.
That's when we did Savage and Cook that late?
44, yeah. It was wine finished whiskeys.
Right.
With the ladies.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Wow, I didn't realize it was that late.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting story, though, if you want to find them. You said it's 44?
Yeah. Episode 44, we tell the whole backstory. Stranahan's. 1-3.
Colorado's, some American single malts.
Yeah. For their original, their Blue Peak and their Diamond Peak.
Now, once again, the Diamond Peak's usually in the 80s, I think. But the Blue Peak is around here is $39.
Yeah. And it's quite good.
It's very good.
Yeah. We featured one of the Stranahan's on episode 37, our American single malt episode, where Jeff got his jacket.
Yep.
And W.L. Weller 1-3 for their 12-year, their full proof, and their William LaRue Weller.
Yeah, I've never had, you know what? Maybe I did have that once when I was in Portland. I think I did. The LaRue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
I did. It was very good.
Yeah.
And the 12-year, of course, was in the finals of our Whiskey Madness this year.
Mm-hmm. And we did a short on that one.
Yep.
And the full proof, which we've had out in the wild, we didn't do a podcast on it.
No. A lot of people tell you that's the best of the Wellers. I still like the Antique 107 best, but that's just me.
So the next category we have is science and technology. This is from science.org. I thought this was so interesting. Researchers discover exactly why colder and wetter whiskey taste different. So anyone who drinks whiskey knows that it will taste different when served neat versus on the rocks or just with some water dropped in. After all, it makes sense that dilution would change a whiskey's qualities. However, researchers have found that it's a little more complicated than that. The scientists had been studying the molecular behavior of different concentrations of ethanol, also known as drinking alcohol, when they discovered something unexpected. The surface tension of their mixtures didn't change linearly with alcohol concentration. Instead, it jumped up in a stepwise fashion, changing suddenly at certain temperatures. Further analyses and computer simulations suggested that these steps were created by sudden shifts in the arrangement of the alcohol and water molecules. In weaker drinks, the molecules cluster together in tight pyramid-like formations, whereas in stronger drinks, they form more chain-like structures. Researchers also observed a shift toward pyramidal shapes as a drink cooled, with taste tests suggesting that these molecular shapes have a more refreshing flavor, which may help explain why a cold beer is so great on a hot day. Meanwhile, the chain-like groupings have a more pungent taste, possibly explaining the appeal of whiskey served neat. So what I got from that is you are a pyramid and I'm a chain. You like it cold and a little wetter,
Yep.
and I like it, as dry as fuck.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting point. I don't want my liquor watered down. I like the change that takes place when the temperature goes down and when it gets a little more open from the water. Scott has now told me that when the molecules get into a little more of a pyramid shape, I like that flavor better, which we have mentioned on here that my 80 proof Irish whiskeys, I keep it on wine fridge at around 50 degrees because I like it cool, but I don't want to water it down. And I don't like the stones. I don't like the freezer stones always seem to bring a stale flavor with them because they're in your fridge.
And I'm always afraid that I'm going to forget that they're stones and think it's ice and chew on one and break a tooth.
That's possible.
The second story from PR Newswire, Bulleit kicks off massive glass recycling program. So as we mentioned on our most recent whiskey short on their new American single malt, Bulleit is a brand that relies on natural resources to produce quality whiskeys and is dedicated to sustainable practices to help replenish the resources that go into its whiskeys. And a new expansion of the Chicago area Don't Trash Glass program into Bulleit's home state of Kentucky will further this commitment, especially seeing as Kentucky has one of the lowest glass recycling rates in the country at 15%, well below the 31% national average. Says Jayant Kairam, Vice President Diageo North America, Don't Trash Glass is an exciting partnership that has shown a promising first year of impact to improve regional glass collection and advance circularity across our customer value chain in the Chicagoland area. Working collectively with local businesses and the hospitality sector will generate lasting solutions that support communities and advance our sustainability goals. To date, the Don't Trash Glass program has collected over 2.2 million pounds of glass in Illinois.
Nice, but not Kentucky.
No, not Kentucky yet, and that's what they're doing. They're pushing it into Kentucky.
Yeah, in Kentucky, they've got about 2 or 3 12-packs of beer in the whole state. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like shitting on Kentucky today. I don't know why. I'm still mad about the whole being Suntory thing, I think.
Well, when I read this, is like I feel like I've recycled almost 2.2 million pounds of glass bottles since we started this podcast.
Because Jersey's been insane about it for so long.
My utility room was completely filled. The floor and everything was on shelves. I had to get rid of it, but I can't drop it down the chute because glass crashes and it's so loud. It gives me so much anxiety. I have to take it down in a box, like 12 at a time, and just slowly slide it down.
I mean, dude, I would have dropped it and just ran back to my room and just listened to the chaos. I would have waited until 1 o'clock in the morning.
It's so loud.
Where people think that people were breaking in.
Because I live on the 4th floor and it drops all the way down.
Well, I live on the 4th floor too, and I have concierge service where they come and take my recycling from outside my door.
Well, aren't you a bougie bitch?
Know, I am. I pay for someone to do that. Like, what a bitch I am.
Oh, all right. So the last category that we have, but we have 3 stories. True crime.
Yes.
This is a follow-up to a story that we did over a year ago from Fortune magazine. Criminal charges unwarranted in Oregon whiskey scandal. As we reported back in February 2023, the Oregon Department of Justice began investigating whether employees of that state's Liquor and Cannabis Commission improperly used their positions to obtain bottles of top-shelf bourbon, including Pappy Van Winkle 23-year, for personal use. But just this month, after reviewing thousands of documents, emails, and statements from dozens of people, the Oregon DOJ concluded that it did not have sufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the criminal offenses of official misconduct or misuse of confidential information. Said Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum, even though the employee's behavior may have breached ethical standards, there is no explicit policy prohibiting the specific conduct, and the practice appears to have been long-standing and endorsed by at least one former executive director. Steve Marks, a director who resigned over the scandal, denied that he had violated any Oregon ethics laws or state policy. However, he did acknowledge using his position to get preferential treatment, adding that he and the other officials never resold the whiskeys, either drinking them or giving them away as gifts.
Speaking of giving them away, it sounds like the DOJ got a couple of bottles of Pappy. Well, you know what? After review of after some drams and review, we're everything's good. Everything's good now.
Hey, this is good. God, this is so good.
Right. I'm not calling Ellen out exactly by herself, but I'm just saying.
Right.
Somebody got some Pappy.
Yeah. But despite the Oregon DOJ's conclusions, all of the information they gathered is being made available to the Oregon's Government Ethics Commission, which is conducting a separate civil investigation of its own.
How much money and time are we going to waste on a couple bottles of Pappy?
I know. I know.
Wow, what a waste of everything.
Yeah.
You know, it would look to be like some people would say it's a victimless crime, right? Someone's going to buy the Pappy. Why can't, like, you know, I know where they're being delivered. And I'm like, hey, Scott, just, you know, O'Shaughnessy's liquor store, you might want to get there at 10 o'clock. They're going to have a couple of Pappy.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, that's probably how it happens. It is unethical, and I'm glad that people are aware of it.
Right. I think that was it. They couldn't find a criminal statute that fit, so they couldn't really charge him with anything. But the ethics, that's why I got referred to them.
But just for the record, by pure chance, I was out in Oregon this year.
You were.
And the availability of what we would consider allocated bottles was quite plentiful. In the Hyatt where I was staying, I saw whiskeys I really had never seen in a while. The entire Weller collection was there. There was a foolproof 12 and an antique 107. There was a couple of Boss Hogs. There was Yamazaki 18, and maybe even the one above that. It was a couple of really high-level Japanese whiskeys. So my point from saying all this is the hotel, not
a liquor store.
Not a liquor store and not a high-level whiskey bar.
Right.
It's just the hotel bar. Right next door is the whiskey library they have there, which is one of the largest collections of whiskey in the country. So I'm just saying, if you're out in Oregon, don't be bitter. There's lots of good whiskey to drink.
Right.
But there's less Pappy than there should be, is what I'm hearing.
That's right. If you take anything from that, that's what it is. The second story it's a local one from 6ABC Philadelphia. Bourbon and other items stolen from trucks in Northeast Philly.
I was home. I have witnesses.
Back in March, police were called to a parking lot in Northeast Philadelphia where a truck was in the process of being robbed while the driver had been trying to get some sleep. After being awakened by his truck shaking, the driver saw two vehicles parked diagonally behind him in his rearview mirror and immediately called 911. When the officers arrived on the scene, the suspects escaped in one of the cars, hitting a police cruiser in the process, but leaving the other car behind. In that car was some of the bourbon that had been removed from the truck, as well as a sizable quantity of frozen seafood that apparently was part of a previous theft on the same night.
Hey, you know what? We got lobster tails, but you know what I really would like? A couple drams of some good bourbon. Well, yeah, sure. Let's hit that truck over in the parking lot.
It goes so well with seafood, apparently.
Was the guy getting some sleep or sleeping off some bourbon? We'll never know.
That's right. So evidently, this has been a pretty normal occurrence in Philly recently. Last November, $7,600 worth of meat was stolen from a truck in South Philadelphia. In January, thieves took meat from a truck in the same area worth $20,000. Last October, a trucker in Kensington awoke to find 184 cases of crabs missing worth $73,000. And possibly the weirdest theft happened last April when in another incident involving a trailer in Northeast Philadelphia, somebody stole an estimated 2 million dimes.
What do you mean, the actual coin?
The coins, which is about $200,000.
Yeah, and a note was left behind signed T. Soprano. Soprano family.
Yeah, that's right. That's for sure, right over the bridge.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
I just thought that was hilarious.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't think of stealing meat because you got to have a freezer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, that's the thing. Like,
it's a lot of meat.
You got to plan it. It's great if you can steal a bunch of, like, filet mignon. I mean, it's $10 a pound, but it just seems like a bad theft to me. The dimes doesn't seem like it's well thought out.
No.
Can you imagine how many 2 million dimes are? I mean, I know it's $200,000, but a 2 million anything. I don't.
I guess they were probably wrapped up, right?
I'm
they were
assuming,
machine wrapped up.
I'm
right?
assuming they weren't just grabbing handfuls.
Yeah, that would be great.
I have to tell you a funny story. I'm going to act like I wasn't there because I don't want to indict myself. But back in the day, we were on the Parkway in New Jersey, and we got off an exit. My friend was driving. I'm not going to say who it is. Initials MC. So this is when the toll was a quarter. That's how long ago this was.
Yeah.
I was still a teenager. He was
kids,
like,
yeah.
And he threw his quarter in, and the thing didn't change. It just made a clanging sound because it landed on a bunch of change. Evidently, no one had emptied the toll. It was an unmanned toll. It was like,
and it was all filled up.
It was all filled with quarters. So he gets out. He just starts two-hand shoveling quarters into the back seat of the car through the window. Just hundreds of quarters, you know. And to us, it was like, you know, leprechaun in a pot of gold. You know what I mean? And I'm just thinking to myself, we're going to go to prison for this. Is this a state or federal law that we're breaking? Like, what type of prison am I going to be in?
Right. It depends.
Right.
If you were in an interstate, it might have been.
Right. Is it federal? Am I going to do a nice, like a country club, or up in Rawway? You know what I mean? In the Scared Straight movie, you know? So that's a funny story.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I mean, if I was there. Is the statute of limitations, is 30 years enough to...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
All
fine.
Right, then I was there.
And the last story we have in true crime.
I think it's funny. I added my own true crime to this. We actually We had 3 true crimes. Four true crimes now.
Right. So the fourth and last true crime story. Iharare.com from South Africa.
I don't even care if you pronounce that wrong. You hit that wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Zimbabwe man arrested after stealing and drinking copious amounts of whiskey. In a bizarre and somewhat comical incident, a daring burglar's criminal escapade took an unexpected turn. Under the cover of darkness, the hapless culprit, identified as Dixon Samungo, 28, broke into a popular sports bar after hours. Once inside, he couldn't resist the allure of the establishment's well-stocked bar, which is when he proceeded to consume an astonishing 3 750-milliliter bottles of whiskey. But not content with merely quenching his thirst, Samungo also devoured 2 250-gram tins of beef.
Well, yeah, you got to eat something.
You got to get hungry. However, the burglar's gluttonous spree soon took its toll as the potent combination of spirits and meat took hold, causing Samungo to succumb to deep slumber. The next morning, as the sun dawned on the scene of the crime, the unsuspecting bar owner arrived to discover Samungo sprawled out amidst the remnants of his pilfered goods. The owner wasted no time alerting the authorities, who promptly arrived and arrested the incapacitated intruder. During court proceedings, the judge sentenced Samungo to 12 months in prison with 3 months suspended for good behavior.
I mean, here's what's dumb about that. Does he know that they're portable? Like,
he could have took them.
I mean, if he was drinking out of the tap or something, maybe I'd be like, okay, but just get the bottles and go home. Take the beef tins with you too if you want.
Yeah, bring a bag.
Yeah, what I mean,
plan.
They probably had a bag there. Grab a trash bag, fill it up with bottles. I mean, I'm not here. It sounds like I'm a master criminal now. Here I'm promoting how to do it. I'm just saying.
Aren't you though? You just confessed to a crime.
I just confessed to stealing from the state. Well, no, I did not steal.
No, you watched a theft.
I was an accomplice
and didn't
at best.
report it.
Tough to buy a tank of gas with fistfuls a quarter. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah. It wasn't unheard of back in the 80s, but nowadays you couldn't get away with that.
Yeah.
All right, so next thing we do are the new whiskeys that you can get this month.
Yes.
We got 10 of them, and we'll start with Barrell Mizunara Finish Bourbon. Barrell's latest release in their cask finish series joins 2018's Tale of Two Islands Bourbon, finished in rum and peated Scotch barrels, and last year's Unwarranted finished bourbon, which we did on episode 69. This new whiskey combines an 8-year Kentucky bourbon, 8 and 14-year Tennessee bourbons, and 6, 7, and 9-year Indiana bourbons, all finished in Mizunara casks for 18 months.
Yeah.
It's 116.42 proof, 76% corn, 20% rye, 4% malted barley, lemongrass, star anise, peppermint, honey, sweet cornbread, dates, spearmint, lime zest, ginger, and because they're barrel, Palo Santo.
Well, they were doing so good there. I was thinking to myself, like, you know what? That's actually normal. It's a little bougie, but very approachable tasty notes. I was with them on everything.
Yeah, Palo Santo, I had to look it up.
Of course you did.
Is an incense stick that smells like cedar, citrus, and mint. Again, though,
I give him credit
how is
for
that on the taste?
What is it?
Cedar, citrus, and mint.
I mean, we do get cedar, citrus, and mint. So, yes, it's annoying, but at least once you break down what it is, those are approachable.
Why couldn't they just say cedar, citrus, and mint?
Cedar, citrus, barrel, and mint.
MSRP is 90, like all their stuff. It's between 80 and 90.
Oh,
pretty much.
I was thinking proof. I'm like, that's low for them. I just flipped in my mind. Oh yeah, 90, sure, right, yeah.
I thought you were quiet for a reason.
I wasn't like 90 because just like all their stuff. I'm like, that's not all their stuff. All their stuff is like 130.
116.42.
There we go.
There
we are.
Yeah. The next one is Basil Hayden Subtle Smoke. 2024 version. So 2 years ago, Jim Beam unveiled a smoky bourbon under its Basil Hayden banner, which took the label's standard high rye recipe and finished it for 6 months in toasted and lightly charred oak barrels that had been infused with hickory smoke. Intended as a one-off expression, it was apparently popular enough to warrant a re-release, but now instead of being finished for 6 months, it's only been finished for 6 weeks. It's 80 proof, as all Basil Haydens are. No age statement. 73% corn, 13% rye, 10% malted barley, vanilla, caramel, apple, soft char, and lightly toasted hickory wood. $50.
Is it that they were trying to make it less smoky?
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
All right. I got some criticism saying it was just,
right. Maybe most of the people who bought it said it's a little too smoky. You know, cut it down a little bit.
I mean, smoky bourbons, I don't know that bourbon and smoke go together that well. And if it is, it should be more of a barbecuey, which we have had.
Yes.
A savory barbecuey note smoke.
Yeah.
And then it lends itself to like a whiskey you can eat ribs with and all. And we've had some barbecue flavored whiskeys, and we've had ones that have that type of barbecue smoke. It's different. It's like a charcoal smoke. not a peat smoke, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Next one on the list is the Blood Oath Pact 10.
I feel like we'll never do Blood Oath again, but we have an ironic Blood Oath story.
Yeah. For a Pact 10, 2 rye and a bourbon were blended and then finished first in Cabernet Franc barrels and then a second time in Merlot casks. 98.6 proof, of course, as always. No age statement and mash bill is not disclosed. Sweet fruit, oak, rich caramel, tart raspberries, black pepper, red stone fruits, vanilla, and cocoa. MSRP, and the reason why we don't buy them anymore, $130.
Right, and because it's not 130, by the time we get it, it's going to be 160, 170, and it's not that great.
If you can get it.
If you can get it, and that's Pack 10. We actually had some with Marty. He had a Pack 4 in his locker.
Yeah.
We drank it last night, so we were in the Wayback Machine drinking Blood Oath Pack 4 back when we could all afford it.
Exactly. We did 5 and 6, I think, on the podcast.
Yep.
And then we stopped.
I mean, it's good, but I also have one other criticism. When you're targeting 98.6, I question whether that's the right proof point for the whiskey.
Right. So you're setting an artificial level for...
So that's my other criticism of the Blood Oath. And that'd be fine if it was like a novelty whiskey, but at 130 and it's blended and it's old and it's aged and all this, give up that part of it. And no one is actually 98.6 anyway.
Right.
So it's kind of dumb. Get over it.
The next one is Bulleit Rye 12 year, which we had before.
Never been more disappointed in my life.
And didn't like it very much, but here's why I'm listing it. Introduced in 2019 and then discontinued shortly thereafter.
Because we hated it.
because me and Ed hated it.
It was so disappointing. We loved the rye so much, we thought the 12 year is going to be like Utopia, and it just wasn't right. We would drink the regular rye over it any day of the week, and that's wrong. That shouldn't what you should do with a 12 year.
Exactly, because I think the regular rye is around 4 years.
While the 10 year Bulleit bourbon is far superior to the regular bourbon.
Yes.
Far superior. We love it.
It's like the opposites.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So they said that they discontinued it due to limited supply, but they're bringing it back.
They had plenty. Trust me, nobody was drinking.
Yeah. The proof is 92. It's 12 years aged, but they say there is some 17-year aged rye in it this time around. It's 95% rye, 5% malted barley, the typical MGP. Warm caramel, vanilla bean, cracked pepper, black tea, bright citrus, peach, toasted oak, espresso, and cookie dough. MSRP is $55.
Yeah, and we'll buy it again. Definitely give it a try because we love Bulleit, and I think that's one of my most disappointing moments in the times I've had a podcast because we love Bulleit Rye for what it is. It's been the foundation of so many things we've done on here, so many cocktails we make. I still like to make my Manhattans at home with it. So disappointed.
And at $55 for a 12-year, we kind of disparaged Bulleit for the price of their American single malt because we don't really know the age of that, and it's only 90 proof. But this, a $55 12-year-old rye is really good.
Absolutely. Come on.
Yeah. Next one we have is George Dickel, Bottled and Bond. There you go. I promised you. Bottled and Bond, but also 12-year.
Nice.
Yeah. This is the 5th release in George Dickel's Bottled and Bond series, which launched in 2019. It's 100 proof, 12 years aged, 84% corn, 8% rye, 8% malted barley, bold and balanced with sense of fruit, a soft velvety palate, and a lingering finish of roasted nuts.
And latex.
MSRP, $45.
Wow.
Yeah.
$45 for a 12-year Bottled and Bond?
Yep.
Well,
that's what it says.
If we get that anywhere under 60, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Because we don't like George Dickel per se.
No.
But when I had to buy the 2 8-year Dickels to get the Weller 12-year at a good price, we loved them.
Yeah.
They were $30 each, and they were like delicious.
So I think maybe we're like George Dickel aged up. So this is a 12-year. If we can get it for this price.
Right. Anything under 60, I'll give it a try. We'll do a quick taste of it.
Yeah, we will.
I'll try to find it.
Absolutely. Next one, we have Milam and Greene have a Bottled and Bond now.
Oh, such a sweet lady.
A new permanent member of its portfolio, 72 barrels of Bardstown, Kentucky distilled bourbon were aged 4 years in a federally bonded warehouse, selected for this release and brought to the brand's home in Blanco, Texas for batching and bottling. It's 100 proof, 4 years aged, 70% corn, 22% rye, 8% malted barley, rye bread, vanilla, oak, cherry, black pepper, molasses, vanilla cream, brown sugar, caramel, coriander, and maple candy. MSRP 65.
Right. Now, here's the only problem I have with that. There's a double gold winning Bottled and Bond called Evan Williams. That's $21.
Yeah.
It's 4 years aged. It's from a master distillery.
And it's tasty.
It is very tasty. And the 7-year
Heaven Hill
is in our area plentiful now for $49.
And also one double gold.
Right. And the McKenna 10-year
Also
is
one
now
double gold.
available for around $55.50 now after being out of control for a while.
Yeah.
And you know that we love Milam and Greene. We really do.
Right.
I would definitely get one of these and try it. I'm just pointing out the tough battle for entering the Bottled and Bond. I look at that and I go, okay, I can pretty much have the Evan Williams and the Heaven Heaven Hill for almost what I'm going to pay for the Mountain Greene. So that's a challenge for them. I have never tried it. It might blow all of the Heaven Hill ones away. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that that's my only concern at $65. I'm just being honest. That's what you guys don't pay me for.
Spitting facts.
Right. Right.
The next one we have is Redbreast Missouri Oak Edition Irish Single Pot Still.
Well, Missouri Oak, so randomly specific for an Irish whiskey.
I know, right?
Crazy.
This single pot Irish whiskey is triple distilled and matured first in American bourbon barrels and then in Spanish Oloroso sherry butts before being aged for 10 months in new charred oak barrels sourced from the Ozark forests of Missouri.
Oh, it's the Ozark in there.
Yeah, it's 101 proof. There's no age statement. It's 100% malted barley. Toffee, apples, currants, black cherries, cinnamon, ginger, pecan pie, oak tannins, black pepper, berries, and vanilla cream. The MSRP is $200.
They probably think that we think the Ozarks are cooler than we do. Like, we don't really give a shit about it being Ozark aged, okay? What's the proof on it?
101.
Oh, okay. Well, at least it's up there a little bit.
Yeah, for Irish.
No.
Agreed.
I'll get the cast strength for 99, and that to me is pushing it with my Redbreast experience.
Right.
In fact, the last good Irish whiskey I had was when Scott bought it for my birthday. Was it 2 years ago? The 15-year?
Oh, the 15-year Redbreast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the last good Irish whiskey that I've had. That was over $100.
Yeah.
It's a last real good present Scott bought me, too.
That's not true at all.
What did you buy me this year? I forget.
Oh, we haven't tasted it yet.
It went right to the vault.
Right to the vault.
That's right. So to me, it's like I never got my birthday present. It's coming up on 6 months.
It's been in there longer than I intended, but
It's fine.
Yeah.
If it gives me a reason to bitch, it's worth it. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
The definition of your word gift, I think, needs some work. All right, so the Templeton has released 2 new whiskeys.
My God, I haven't thought of Templeton.
I know.
In a while.
Something called Midnight Rye, which is their sourced rye blended with port.
Drink the midnight rye.
So this is kind of like the Basil Hayden Dark Rye.
Okay.
So they have port in it.
Nice.
90 proof, no age statement, 95% rye, 5% malted barley, typical MGP, dark cherries, figs, spiced orange peel, cinnamon clove, dark chocolate, dried fruit, oak, and black pepper. MSRP is 40.
Let's try it because it's like the dark rye we like from Basil Hayden with 10 more proof points. And we have never anything with Templeton.
No.
Because you know why? They had that thing where they were caught mislabeling.
Yep.
When we got into our podcast,
They got in trouble.
they had a bad year, man. They were getting shit on all over the place for like they're lying about their background story, and some of their whiskey was kind of like hokey. And we were like, oh well, fuck Templeton Rye. Like we just backed away from them.
Yeah.
But maybe it's time to go back and give it a try now.
I think so, and I think this next one will have you even more excited.
Okay.
So they have their first bourbon, Fortitude Bourbon, they're calling it, making a significant milestone for Templeton. This is their very first ever bourbon and their very first release of their own distilled spirit.
Wow. After all this time.
Yeah, 92 proof, no age statement, 55% corn, 45% rye, 5% malted barley. Scott's kind of bourbon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pear, grass, apricot, vanilla, citrus, rye, black pepper, caramel, cinnamon, sugar, and graham cracker.
And optimism.
And also $40.
Well, this is growing into an episode.
Yeah, we'll do Templeton. We'll cover all their troubles.
It's like when someone interview Mike Tyson now and they bring up his prison time. It's like, really? You going back there, are you? Yeah, we are. We're that type of hard-hitting investigative journalist.
That's right. Breaking news.
So what did you think when you were putting fake labels on the bottles? What was that about? By the way, good bourbon and rye, though.
Yeah. Nice resurgence.
Yeah. Way to stay with it.
Yeah. And the last whiskey that we have to talk about this month, the WhistlePig 25.
Wow.
The Badönkådonk.
Well, yes.
I'm serious.
I don't know. Good.
Yeah. This is a Canadian single malt matured in...
$1 million. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Matured in new American charred oak for 25 years, then finished in Silver Oak Cellars Cabernet Sauvignon barrels with an ad campaign featuring John Cleese from Monty Python. 91 proof, 25 years aged, 100% malted barley. Fig, plum, creme brulee, light butterscotch, cedar wood with notes of dough, wild honey, toasted almonds, and tanned leather. MSRP, $2,000.
I mean, where has this shit been sitting for 25 years, though? This Canadian stuff?
Yeah. Canadian single malt, not rye. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I would pay $100 to taste it.
Oh, wow.
I would. It's an amazing sounding whiskey, and it's one of a kind.
It does sound amazing.
You know, like some stuff's worth $100 a shot, and I say it's not. And by the way, that's actually not the price, because if it's $2,000 a bottle, you really only have about 12 or 13 shots in the bottle, right? Mm-hmm. So that means it's worth way more than $100. That means the shots are like $300 if you're in a bar.
Yeah.
So once again, I'm still never drinking it.
Exactly.
I gotta hope Doug gets it. Hey, I picked it up. I got them each for $1,500. I had to buy them.
You got to come over and have another full episode.
Yeah, seriously. If I go to Doug's again, I'm taking IV saline with me to stay hydrated.
I'm taking little mini bottles empty then just to steal all the stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's it. The only thing we do have left to do is what's coming up on the podcast in the next few weeks. Next week is still May, but there's no podcast.
And so what's coming out in June after that?
On the 7th, the first Friday in June, episode 74, we're going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we've been talking about it, and we had a mediocre experience with the rye once, and I think it kept us from coming back for a couple years.
Yeah.
But now we're back. We've got some really exciting expressions coming in.
Yeah.
We're doing 3. Mm-hmm. One was brought all the way back from Kentucky for us.
That's right.
Special delivery from our friends Marty and Rachel.
Yeah, and they're on their way to record that episode.
Yeah, we're going to record
about.
that as soon as we're done this episode. They're going to be here in about 12 minutes.
Yeah. On the 14th, we're going to release, finally, our second whiskey wormhole.
It takes a while to go out and find what we want to do from the past.
A golf-related scotch from 1982.
Right.
On the 21st, we have a bonus short, the Pinhook Vertical 8-year.
That's great. Yeah, we started back at, I think, the 5th expression.
Yeah.
Then we did the 6th and the 7th, and now we're going to do the 8th.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And for those people who don't know what that is, tune in. You're going to really find it interesting.
Yeah. And on the 28th, we'll be right back here doing the news for June.
There we are. And so everybody have a good Memorial Day. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we want to thank everybody for their support. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting journalism and really informative episodes. So for the Whiskey Tangent Podcast, I'm Ed.
I'm Scott.
Cheers, everybody.
Later.